Have you ever had one of those thoughts, a gut feeling about something and just wondered, how would I actually prove that? Well, today we're going to dive into that exact process, how to take those fuzzy, everyday ideas and sharpen them into something we can really put to the test. I mean, think about this one for a second. Coffee makes you more productive. We hear it constantly, right? We probably even say it ourselves as we're grabbing that morning cup. We just accept it as fact. But how do we know? For sure, how do we take that common belief and find out if it holds up? And that right there, that's the core problem. A statement like coffee makes you productive. It feels right, it sounds right, but it's just too vague to properly test. Today, we're going to look at the tools you need to cut through that fog and get to some real answers. So here's the game plan. We'll start with why vague beliefs are a problem. Then we'll nail down what makes a hypothesis actually testable. We'll see it in action with some great examples, get into a neat little detail called one-tailed versus two-tailed tests, and finally, we'll see how this is a powerful tool for your own thinking. Okay, so section 1, from belief to hypothesis. Before we can build something solid, we've got to understand why the foundation we usually start with, these kind of vague, common sense ideas, is so shaky. Take a look at this. Reading improves knowledge. It sounds totally reasonable, right? Of course it does. But, okay, let's say you're a researcher. Where do you even begin? What does improves actually mean? A tiny bit? A whole lot? And how on earth do you measure something like knowledge? See? These are the fuzzy words that stop us cold. And that brings us to section 2, what makes a hypothesis testable? This is where we bring in our solution to that whole fuzziness problem. The secret is to rephrase our idea into what's called a testable hypothesis. Think of it like a precision tool for clear thinking. So what is it exactly? Well, a testable hypothesis is a statement that's specific, measurable, and, this is the real secret sauce, falsifiable. Now, falsifiable is just a fancy way of saying there has to be a way to prove it wrong. Think about it. If there's no way your idea could be proven false, then you can't ever really prove it's right either. It has to make a concrete prediction you can actually check. So to build one of these, you need a few key ingredients. First up, a specific population. We're not talking about just people, but teenagers or office workers. Next, you need measurable variables, stuff you can actually count, like hours of sleep or tasks completed. And finally, you need a clear comparison, using words like more than, less than, or similar to. All right, on to section 3, where we put this all together. This is the fun part, where we get to see that satisfying before and after, transforming those fuzzy ideas into razor-sharp, testable hypotheses. Now, take a look at this. This is basically our cheat sheet. On the left, you've got those everyday statements we all make, and on the right, you've got their powerful, testable counterparts. Let's walk through a couple of these right now. Let's go back to our old friend, the coffee question. The vague idea is, coffee boosts productivity. Okay, the testable hypothesis, office workers who drink 2 cups of coffee daily complete more tasks per hour than those who don't. Bam. See the difference? We've got our population, office workers, a measurable amount, 2 cups, and a clear outcome, more tasks per hour. Now that is something you can actually go out and test. Here's another one. Social media affects sleep. It's a huge concern, but how would you even test that? Well, here's the transformation. Teenagers who use social media more than 2 hours per day report lower average sleep duration than those who use it less. Again, we've got our specific group, teenagers, a measurable behavior, more than 2 hours, and a clear comparison, lower average sleep duration. Now it's a question we can actually investigate. Okay, section 4, one tail or two. Now, this is a little bit of a finer detail, but it's super useful. Once you have a solid hypothesis, you can get even more specific. You can predict not just that something will change, but which direction it's going to go. So here's the deal. A one-tailed test predicts a specific direction. Remember, our coffee example used the word more, and the social media one used lower. Those are one-tailed. A two-tailed test, on the other hand, just predicts there'll be a difference of some kind, but it doesn't guess which way it'll go. It uses words like different from or similar to. So check out this hypothesis. Students in online courses achieve similar final exam scores as students in face-to-face courses. The key word here is similar. The prediction isn't that one group is going to do better or worse, just that their scores won't be all that different. That's a classic two-tailed test. You're just looking for a difference, not a specific one. And that brings us to our final section, a tool for critical thinking. So, why does any of this matter if you're not a scientist in a lab coat? Well, it's because this whole framework, it's one of the most powerful tools for just thinking more clearly in your day-to-day life. So here it is, a simple 3-step toolkit you can use the next time you hear a big claim or see a crazy headline. First, just identify the core statement they're making. Second, ask yourself, how would I actually measure that? And third, just for fun, try to rephrase it in your head as a specific, testable statement. It's a little mental exercise that will immediately help you spot fuzzy things. So, the main thing to take away from all this is that learning to frame ideas this way, it's not just some academic thing. It's a fundamental skill for cutting through all the noise out there, for evaluating information, and honestly, for understanding the world with so much more clarity. So, I'll leave you with this. Think about all the popular beliefs and common sayings you hear every day. If you could pick just one to really put to the test, what would it be? What's that one idea you'd love to finally have a real answer for?